Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the professional playbook for handling one of the most common and, let's be honest, most stressful home emergencies out there: water damage. We're going to take all that chaos from a leak or a flood and turn it into a clear, step-by-step process. That way, you'll know exactly what to expect from the moment it starts to the minute it's done.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a question for you. I want you to really think about it. What is the single most destructive force your house can face? Is it a fire? Maybe termites? You might think you know the answer, but I bet it'll surprise you.
Yep, it's water. And what makes it so unbelievably dangerous is that it's sneaky. It's a silent destroyer. It gets into your walls, seeps under your floors, and pools in places you'd never even think to look, causing massive damage long before you ever see a stain or smell that musty odor. So to really get a handle on this threat, we've got to look at what's going on around your home. See, some parts of the country have these unique conditions that basically create a perfect storm for water to get in and then make it incredibly difficult for a house to ever dry out on its own. Take a place like Tennessee, for instance. It's got that humid, subtropical climate, right? That means moisture just hangs in the air, which basically stops wet stuff from ever drying out. Then you've got this expansive clay soil that swells up and shrinks, cracking foundations. Throw in those winter freezes that burst pipes and the heavy spring storms, and, well, you're fighting a constant battle against water. And in that kind of sticky, humid environment, the clock is ticking, and it's ticking fast. You've got about 48 hours. That's it. That's the typical window you have before mold starts growing on wet building materials. From the second that water gets in, it is an absolute race against time.
All right, let's bring it inside the house now and look at the usual suspects. These are the kinds of events that can take a totally normal Tuesday and turn it into a full-blown, catastrophic water damage emergency in just a few minutes.
And you can see the threats really do come from everywhere. A sudden hard freeze can pop a pipe you didn't even know you had. An old, tired water heater can just give up. You can have something called hydrostatic pressure, which is really just a fancy way of saying groundwater is literally pushing its way through your foundation. Or a nasty storm can peel back a section of your roof. The danger can come from pretty much anywhere.
Okay, so the worst has happened. There's a leak. But for a restoration professional, the very first and most important question is, where did this water come from? Because that answer, believe me, changes absolutely everything about how they respond. And this is where something called the IICRC comes in. It stands for the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. The easiest way to think about it is like, it's the official rule book for restoration. It brings a scientific, standards-based method to all that chaos, making sure the job is done safely and correctly, no matter who you call. This system right here is absolutely critical. The IICRC breaks water down into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, like from a burst supply line. Category 2 is what we call gray water. It's got some contaminants in it, maybe from a dishwasher or washing machine. And then there's Category 3, black water. This is the really dangerous stuff, like sewage. This tells the pros what can be saved and what has to be torn out for your safety. And let's be super clear about this. Category 3 water isn't just a mess. It's a legitimate biohazard. We're talking about stuff that requires technicians to be in full protective gear, using strict protocols, all to decontaminate the area and protect your family from some seriously dangerous pathogens. All right, so now that we know the risks and the different types of water, let's actually walk through the professional playbook. This is the step-by-step process they use to get control of the situation, stop the damage in its tracks, and systematically bring your home back to normal. The whole process really breaks down into 3 main phases. First up is the emergency phase. Get all that standing water out, and do it fast. Second is the scientific phase. This is where they dry out the very structure of your home and monitor it with total precision. And third is the proof phase. This is all about verifying that the job is 100% complete before restoring anything that was damaged. So you might be wondering, how in the world do they find water they can't even see? Well, they use some pretty cool tech, like thermal imaging. These cameras can see temperature differences in your walls, which allows them to map out every last hidden pocket of moisture. It ensures that nothing, and I mean nothing, gets missed. Now, if you're dealing with that nasty contaminated water, or if mold has already started to show up, this piece of equipment is an absolute game changer. Air scrubbers use these powerful HEPA filters to literally pull dangerous particles like mold spores and bacteria right out of the air. It protects the air you're breathing and stops those contaminants from spreading.
And this, right here, really shows you why trying to do this yourself often ends in disaster, especially in humid areas. I mean, it's not even a fair fight. Putting a couple of box fans next to a wet wall versus industrial-grade dehumidifiers and high-velocity air movers. One is based on science and data, the other is pretty much just guesswork that can easily lead to a huge mold problem.
So we're at the final phase now, and this is all about proving the job is done right. And this isn't about whether something looks or feels dry. It's about whether it is dry, according to very specific scientific and measurable standards. This slide really gets to the core of what professional restoration is all about. For them, dry isn't a feeling, it's a number. They use these precise moisture meters to check every single material, making sure that wood framing, concrete, drywall, all of it is back to its normal pre-damage moisture level. It's the only way to guarantee that mold won't pop up and become a new nightmare down the road.
And, while all this is happening, they're not just drying things out. They're creating a meticulous paper trail. This detailed file packed with photos, moisture logs, and a full record of every single thing they did is absolutely crucial. It's what makes for a smooth insurance claim, and it serves as your ultimate proof that the job was done right. Which brings us to our final thought. When the fans are finally gone, the house is quiet again, how do you really know the job is truly done? The answer isn't in what you can see with your eyes, it's in the data. Real completion, real peace of mind, comes from those final moisture readings and that thorough documentation that proves your home is safe, dry, and genuinely restored.